Welcome to CBT News with Cheyenne Malone.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to CBT News. I'm Cheyenne Malone. Thanks so much for watching. Here's a look at today's top automotive industry stories.
Electric vehicle startup Rivian unveiled 3 new, cheaper SUVs during an event hosted by CEO and founder RJ Scaringe in California. While one of the models, the R2, had been leaked previously, the executive surprised attendees with the reveal of the R3 and the R3X. In addition to lower price tags, the 3 models are also smaller than the preceding R1 and R1S, and come with interior upgrades such as dual glove boxes and door lights. Rivian said it will pause its $5 billion investment to scale its Georgia EV plant and redirect its budget to accelerate the release of the new R2. Honda's first all-electric SUV, the 2024 Honda Prologue, will qualify for the full $7,500 U.S. EV tax credit when it arrives in dealerships in the coming weeks. In an announcement, the automaker clarified that the incentives only apply to those buying models built after February 26. Customers who release an electric Prologue will be eligible regardless of when their vehicle was made. Honda subsidiary Acura also revealed that its own upcoming electric SUV, the 2024 ZDX, is also expected to qualify for the full tax credit when it launches later this year. President Biden's last State of the Union address before the upcoming election emphasized the White House's newly formed alliance with the United Auto Workers Union, but refrained from addressing his administration's EV policies. UAW Chief Shawn Fain was invited to the speech and watched alongside First Lady Jill Biden in the House Gallery viewing box. During his address, Biden recalled the resuscitation of Stellantis' Belvidere, Illinois plant, which avoided a closure due to an effort of UAW leaders last fall. The president called the incident a, quote, comeback story, end quote, and tied it to his broader narrative of the nationwide comeback seen following the COVID-19 pandemic. Stellantis posted sales and shares of gains in February across Europe's car market, including noteworthy gains in the EV segment. Compared to 2023, the automaker's total sales rose 12%, while electrified sales improved 7%. Although February was a strong month for the brand, its total market share improvements were marginal, gaining less than 1 percentage point to reach 20.3%. Stellantis was a top seller in multiple EU nations, including France, Italy, Portugal, and Spain. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Brian Moody, executive editor at Cox Automotive, to discuss the recent decline in average transaction prices.
CBT News is expanding its reach like never before and is launching in over 70 million broadcasting households. Whether you have Roku, Apple TV, or a mobile device running on Android or iOS, you can now enjoy our engaging, in-depth interviews with dealers, automakers, trade associations, best-selling authors, motivational speakers, and so much more, whenever and wherever you are. Simply search CBT News in the App Store of your smart TV.
Sure. So the report highlights a decline in new vehicle transaction prices by 3.5% year over year. And of course, that's compared to last month. But what do you believe are the primary factors driving this downward trend?
Well, some of it has to do with incentives, but a lot of it has to do with supply. So remember a year and a half ago, if we were having this conversation, we would be having a conversation about a lack of cars.
Right.
How consumers can't find the car they want.
Right.
They can't find the color they want. There just aren't that many. And this would be for both new and used cars. But today versus, say, a year and a half ago, the number of new and used cars separately, both new and both used, are double than what they were. So there's plenty of cars out there. And January is typically a little bit of a slow selling season anyway. So I think all those things are conspiring to bring the transaction price down somewhat.
Sure. How are automakers responding to these market conditions that we see?
Well, we see them pulling the lever of incentives. What's interesting is that incentives versus a year ago, as a part of the transaction price, are up nearly 100%. So say a year ago, it would have been difficult to find an incentive that would have made up more than 2.5 or 3% of the purchase price of the car. Today, that's closer to 6%. It's 5.7. So that's pretty significant for consumers if you look at an incentive that could make up that much of the price. And you see lots of advertised leases and low APR too, which is very beneficial in the long run when you have a car loan.
Yeah, that's for sure. And obviously affordability is at the top of both OEMs list as well as dealers.
Right.
We're butting on $50,000 for the price of a new car, almost $60,000 for the price of a new EV. Talk to us about that. That's got real concern for people out there in the industry.
Right. One thing that I don't think consumers know, and so this is something that I think dealers can help to educate the consumer. A lot of consumers assume that electric cars are still very expensive. And many times they are. That depending on what you get. Get a Mercedes-Benz, of course, it's very expensive. Those cars are typically, those are luxury cars.
Yeah.
But the price of electric cars overall has come down quite considerably to the point where the average price spent for a consumer on your typical electric car is now below the average price or the average transaction price of a luxury car. It used to be way higher.
Yeah.
A lot of this is driven by Tesla slashing their prices by more than 20%.
Yeah.
But others have followed. So I think the story there is if a consumer thinks, I just can't afford an electric car, that might not be true anymore.
Yeah, for sure. How much of an impact do discounts and incentives have on consumer behavior?
I think quite a bit, because it just has the impression of I can get a good deal. And that's what people are always asking. How do I get the best deal? A lot of vehicles, the price is the barrier. I think that's why you see some of these electric car prices coming down, because that's the barrier. For other people, there's no barrier at all. We see luxury vehicles still 20% of the market, near 20% of the market. Well, that means a lot of people are opting to buy more expensive cars. So clearly not everyone's in the same boat, but incentives help the average consumer or the budget-based consumer say, hey, I might be able to get a good deal now. At least I'll start looking, or I'll go down there and see what they can do.
And you can watch this full interview right here at cbtnews.com. That wraps up our coverage for today, but we do invite you right back here tomorrow morning on cbtnews.com. Remember, you can stay up to date with the most recent news and trends influencing the retail automotive industry by following us on TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, and X, formerly known as Twitter. And now you can find CBTs in over 70 million broadcasting households. We're on Roku, Apple TV, Android, and iOS devices. Simply search CBT News in the App Store on your smartphone or device, and you can watch our programming whenever, wherever. I'm Cheyenne Malone. Thanks so much for watching. You have a good one.
CBT News, your #1 resource for auto industry news and content.